Okay, I didn't quite get through this last example, so I just wanted to real quick go over it again because it's definitely the most complicated. So again, this is like factoring a quadratic where, like, say it was like 3x squared plus 3x minus 2. So just think of the sine squared as an x squared, and the sine is just your x. So it's like we have 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. So again, just like in algebra 2, you would do 2 times negative 2 and get negative 4. So we're doing what multiplies to get negative 4 and adds to get our middle, our b, which is 3. And to make that happen, 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, and 4 plus negative 1 is 3. So those are my two factors. So remember, the next thing you would do is rewrite this, and we change our middle term to use our two factors. So instead of writing 3 sine x, I write 4 sine x minus 1 sine x. So that's the only thing that changes. Everything else stays the same. Then you look at your first, we're going to do grouping, and you look at your first two terms. They have a 2 in common, so that's why you can factor out a 2. They also both have a sign, so that's why you can factor out a sign. So their GCF is 2 sine x. When you factor that out, in this term, you would still be left with sine x. And in this term, you would only be left with 2. Again, think about multiplying this in. 2 sine x times sine x would make sine squared. 2 sine x times 2 would make 4 sine x. Then between these two terms, the only thing they have in common is a negative 1. So we can factor a negative 1 out, put it out front. When we do that, this would turn into a positive sine x and a positive 2. Again, you can think about distributing that back in, and you should get what you started with. Negative 1 times sine x would be negative 1 sine x. Negative 1 times 2 would make negative 2. So that's where that came from. And remember from algebra 2, when you did this, you always ended up with that common factor, and we have that, and that's what's highlighted in blue. So we factor that out and put it out front, and then we write what's remaining as our other factor. So 2 sine x minus 1 is our other factor. Now we set each of these factors equal to 0, and in algebra, your teacher would say solve for x. Set it equal to 0, solve for x. For us, we're going to set it equal to 0 and make our trig function, in this case sine, be all by itself. So in this factor, I would just subtract 2. Well, sine x will never equal a negative number. So it's never going to equal negative 2. So that's just no solution. In our other factor, when we set 2 times sine x minus 1 equal to 0, I would first add my 1 and then divide by 2. So I would be looking for, when does sine x, or when is my y coordinate 1/2? And that happens at pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Our sine, or our y coordinate, is 1/2. So our answer to our last example here is pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. And that is it for your new material for the week. Again, if you need help on any of this, I am there daily. Again, we are, what is this, honors pre-calc. I meet with you guys Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10:30 to 11:30, and you can pop on whenever. You don't have to come on right at 10:30. If you come at 11, that's fine. 11:15, whatever. And then, of course, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 1. So I'm always in there, whether anybody comes or if there's 1 or 2 or 10. It doesn't matter. I am always there. So I'm there to help. You guys will have a quiz on the 3 things we did last week and the 2 things we did this week next week. Your last assignment for this week is the review. That, of course, looks very similar to that test. You will not be allowed to retake your test. Just because, you obviously have everything right in front of you to use, and I'm not going to pretend like people aren't going to use it. So you're not going to be able to retake those tests. So we're going to have to make sure we try our best. But that's not till next week. So this week, just make sure you get the 2 lessons done, and then, of course, the review and the Albert assignment. And again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to come to a live session. Email me, text me, whatever. Have a great day.